pleasure now to bring on board Sanjeev Bajaj. I've always admired him for the kind of franchise what Bajaj Finance has created and how CI has moved under his tenure. So, Mr. Bajaj, how should we introduce you today? Immediate past president CII, or the man who's built fortunes for millions of investors when he started Bajaj Finance? What would be a perfect introduction? You choose, then I will take over.
The guy who loves coming to work and is excited to work every day.
What's the exciting part about the budget today? Now that's a difficult one.
No, actually, so it's not a budget that is exciting in the traditional sense to see some bells and whistles, but the one word that I could come to was balance. It's a budget which is showing inclusiveness. It is showing continued growth, a reasonable amount of growth with an 11% increase on the capex, as you know. And it is also a budget that is showing fiscal prudence. And as we know, it's a vote on account, right? So it's in a way, a shorter budget this year. I think it once again aligns to all the actions of this government of the past year and takes it all ahead. And that's what makes it very balanced. And I believe that's what makes it, in a way, very predictable and positive.
Mr. Bajaj, in terms of specifics here, what do you make of government's commitment towards capex? Because it is significantly lower than last year. That's part one of the question. Part two of the question, nothing honestly has been given at what could be called as a populist measure or a booster shot for the rural economy. So these are two numbers where some would say that expectations were high, but in reality, the picture is different.
As far as the rural economy is concerned, I believe that you will see the government act on it when the final budget that comes up of the new government. That should be later this year. We'll have a better sense also of how monsoons are operating. So I think that will be more timely at that point of time. The continued investment on capex. So I'm seeing an 11% growth based on the last year number at 11.1 lakh crore. And I see that as a positive, and I see that as a continued important step, because we have to keep in mind that the Indian economy is doing well, but in a very uncertain external environment. Private sector capex has slowly started coming back, but is not coming yet in droves, because there is still this fear of uncertainty. We are hopeful in the next 12 to 24 months we will see more of the private sector capex come in, and hence then it's very often left to the government to fill that gap, which they are doing quite ably. Coming to any additional kind of stimuli to be given, if I recall, even at 2019, the vote on account, this government did not throw freebies just for elections. They carried forward with a set of announcements that were sensible, and I see them continuing the same trend.
Mr. Bajaj, when we talk about capex, and the government has put a mammoth FY25 capex outlay as well, they clearly in the year gone by put their mouth or put their money where their mouth is, right? Because it's been all about government capex. Tell me, when do you see signs of private capex actually catching up and picking up?
I think that's a very important question. Unfortunately, we've been in a period of significant uncertainty the last 4 years. Each time we feel we're getting out of one, something else comes up, and the current war in the Middle East is the last such unfortunate example. But we see, and I know because of some of the CI numbers that I still see, they share some of these with me now once in a while, that we are starting to see new investment come in basic raw materials. We are seeing this in capital goods that are getting produced for different sectors, seeing this in housing, and that's an encouraging sign. But yes, it is still not coming in the droves, and we are hopeful that if the economy continues to grow as it is, and the external situation continues to stay range-bound and manageable, that increasingly in the next 4 to 6 quarters, you will see more and more sectors announce private sector new investment, because they are getting quite close to, reasonably full capital or capex utilization.
The budget, I'm going to take the... Okay, outside the budget, I'll take the liberty of asking you one more question on the state of the economy. some would argue and say that looking at what Reserve Bank of India has indicated in terms of unsecured loans and retail loans, is it time to be watchful or worried?
I believe that it's time for us, based on each sector that we are in, and if I were to take, let's say in this case, my own sector, which is financial services, to be reasonably positive and confident that the Indian economy will continue to stay on its robust path of 6 to 7% growth. And on that basis, plan our investments, plan our growth. That's certainly something that we are doing. As far as the action that RBI has taken, this was much wanted. It is something that we as Bajaj Finance have been pointing out the last 4 quarters, that we were seeing on small ticket unsecured loans rising defaults. Not alarming yet, but early warning signs. And that's why consciously as a company, we've reduced our growth in those lines of business. Because we believe we are here to build businesses for the long term. And in the short term, there will be times when we have to be more prudent, like the country is being, we have to be there as a company as well. So, but if I were to go beyond even my sector, Nikunj, I see ourselves as being reasonably positive at this point of time.
And you always called out high growth sectors. You know, we've always admired Bajaj Finance ability to churn the sectors. You know, when housing was not doing well, you decided to move into housing, especially in the downturn period. If you have to call out 3 high growth sectors which are going to be meaningfully moving the needle for the economy and for Bajaj Finance, which are those 3 sectors?
Okay, it may not be the same for the economy and for Bajaj Finance, but one that will be is housing. Yeah, both the continued tailwinds we have seen in housing the last couple of years, plus the current budget announcement, and naturally I'm hopeful that when the final budget comes in later in the year, it continues on that trend. So housing, especially affordable and middle class housing, is going to see very strong continued impetus. The second, everything to do around infrastructure and the supply chain. We are seeing multiply effects on that. You can see the auto sector, especially the two-wheeler sector, is starting to now grow well the last few quarters. Auto component suppliers are a large customer base of ours. We see that as growing. And the last area, which is a little broader area, is I would talk about inclusion. Digital public infrastructure that has been put together in India is really helping us grow with payments, with small value digital loans, small value insurance products, which are again sold digitally, and these will continue to grow. So we've launched last year Bajaj Pay, which is our equivalent of UPI payment, and we are seeing tremendous traction coming in over there. And this is because of the digital highway that has been created over the past decade. So these would be 3 broad areas.
Final question. There is a theory of law of economics and law of averages and law of base. If I look at Bajaj Finance, that law just does not apply to you. You're growing at 25%, 30% sometimes at this large base. Am I missing on something? Do I need to perhaps do Google and understand law of base, or at one day it will be applying to you also?
So thank God that our customers and our my team members are driven by entrepreneurship and not by arithmetic. But the reality over there, Nikunj, is that even after this kind of a strong growth, and we've been fortunate to be in a situation and in a position in India to be able to deliver on that for the past nearly 15 years, we are still less than 2% of the credit and less than 3.5% of the retail credit in India. So look at the opportunity that exists. Bajaj Finance is now just about 4,000 towns and cities. In the state of UP till 2018, we were in 20 cities. We are now in probably close to 300 cities. 2018, we were probably in 5 locations in the Northeast. We are in over 100 cities and towns over there. That is how India is growing. And it's a question of leveraging technology, strong focus on risk, and as you talked about it, the diversified set of products that we have. Because you will go through a slowdown. Our personal unsecured loans, the last 4 quarters, as I mentioned, we are ourselves keeping it slow right now till we see improvement in credit quality on the ground. But housing is growing. Consumer durable financing is growing. SME lending is growing significantly. So a combination of these factors is what is giving us those tailwinds, and we think we have many more years ahead of us.
Raj, we'll let you go, and I hope, I remember chatting with you during the lockdown, and you told Nikunj and me that you're playing a lot of chess with your son. I hope you're managing some time at least for that.
I have such a great team that, as I say, I'm not doing any work. So I have enough time for all that and more.
Fitter as well from when we last spoke with you.
But sir, when we reached your office saying that we want the next interview request, the reply was that Mr. Bajaj is too busy.
Naturally, chess requires a lot of concentration. And anytime, Nikunj, as long as we talk strategy, as long as we talk long term, to me, quarter on quarter, my teams do a much better job than me on that.
So nice to have you, Niti, now. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, Wasim Saab, with you we'll have to talk not quarter on quarter but day to day. Aajkal. So market mein in the morning you were saying that why banks? They've done very well. Are banks out of that pushback which they got because of HDFC Bank numbers?
Correct. And, there was too much of pessimism. The sheer weight of HDFC is almost over 35% on the bank nifty. And the, you can call it so-called dumb money of